Hello and welcome everyone. Here is Charles, a kinesiologist at the Cardiac Rehab Center here at the Richardson Hospital, here to present you an educative capsule today about goal setting. All right, so we're going to discuss a bit on how to kind of clarify our intentions into goal to help ourselves move forward with the changes in behaviors. All right, so let's get it started. First, let's discuss a bit why do we set goals, all right? We have to understand the meaning behind it before going forward. All right, so as I mentioned, it's a good tool to help you clarify your intentions. If you want to get somewhere with your life, you need to know what direction to take and where is that direction, right? So then it's also a great tool to that allows lifestyle changes. So it helps you kind of set a concrete plan for you to try and follow and achieve. Same thing with staying active. Well, keeping active is a lifestyle change in some way, so it's a good tool to help you achieve that. It helps to increase your satisfaction with your current physical activity levels. If you know what your own expectations are for yourself within the context and your situation, well, you're going to be probably more satisfied with your own level if you can take everything in that's in the balance for how you can change or not those years. So then it's also a tool that, generally speaking, increases the outcome. So when people set goals, they usually achieve what they want more efficiently than somebody who don't set goals. It's a good way to increase self-efficacy if you experience success through achieving your goals. Well, that's some wins for you. So generally speaking, that helps us to feel better about ourselves, about our capacity. Feeling good about itself, that's a bit what self-efficacy is. Confident a bit too, that's our next point. So being able to achieve goal, that's a good way to increase self-confidence. By seeing that you're able to achieve goals, but we need to achieve or to set proper goals if we want to achieve them and reach them. It's another way to increase commitment too. So, also, well, it's the first part of the action plan, generally speaking. All right. If you want to get somewhere, we need to kind of set goals, and that way we can look at what we need to change to achieve those goals. So generally speaking, there's two different categories of goals, all right? The first category that we like a bit less for goal setting is an outcome goal. So it's a goal that focuses a bit more on the results. A good example for that would be I want to run that 10K race that happens in my city at the end of the summer. So when we focus too much on a result like this, sometimes there's a couple of variables that are outside of our control. Let's take my example of winning the race. Well, there's the other competitors in the balance or the equation. There's the temperature of that day. Am I going to feel good that day? There's a lot of different factors that are quite outside of my control. So that an outcome goal like this can then lead to increased anxiety because you get the feeling that even though you can do everything you must and you should, well, you're still not guaranteed to get that result. All right, so it can lead to anxiety. It can lead to a decreased self-esteem if you set up goals and you do everything you must and you still don't achieve it. Well, you might think that you're not that good in the end, but that might not be your fault. That might be how you set up the expectation. And it can lead also to a decrease in performance. Anxiety, low self-esteem, putting a lot of pressure on yourself is not always good, especially if you're not, you don't have the ambition to going to the Olympics or something, all right? So you can be a bit more realistic on those goals. The second category is process goals. You're going to see that we love way more those types of goals because they specify a behavior to focus on, and usually behaviors are within your realm of control, all right? So we focus on what must I do to achieve the intention I had behind those goals, all right? Usually process goals lead to an improved performance, and they're also associated with a greater self-confidence. If you're able to kind of grasp the whole situation and understand what you should do, and you've done that, well, then you're a bit more prone to accept the results, whether it's there or not there. As long as you feel like you've done everything you should or must, you're going to feel a bit better about yourself then and focus a bit less on the goals. Not the goals, but on the results, sorry. Let's take a look at the SMART acronym, all right? So we're gonna use the SMART acronym to see if our goals are set properly. That's a tool that's been used in a lot of different work environments in the past, so we're gonna apply it a bit to our change of behavior here. So whenever you set up a goal, you should be able to answer those 5 different questions over here. So is your objective specific? So you need to answer a bit the question what. The goal must be specified, it must specify the expected change, so you must have kind of details on what's expected to change. But most importantly, that goal must be specific to you. It must be important to you. If you don't like running, don't set yourself a running goal, all right? Try to set something that represents you properly. Then your goal must be able to be measurable, all right? So there must be a number, a quantity, a frequency, something that you can measure through, all right? If you want to be able to know if you're progressing, you need to compare results, compare numbers in some kind of way. So that's why when we set goals for our exercise, usually we're gonna speak about minutes of exercise, steps per day, kilometers walks. You need to have some numbers to be able to quantify your progress and to see if you're progressing or not. Action-oriented now. So that's a bit coming back to our process goal. So how are we going to achieve this? So the emphasis in your goals should be on the behavior rather than the results. And it's also a question a bit about how are we going to get there. So to think about the ways, the resources that you can put into action and put into use to eventually reach your goal. Your goal should also be realistic. So to be able to answer yes to the question, am I able to do it? It should represent somewhat of a challenge at least, all right, but not an impossible one. So you got to be prepared to put the necessary effort to reach it. So your ambition must follow a bit your motivation too. All right, and to know if the goal is realistic or not, we're most of the times we're going to take a look at what you already do. So consider what you already do. That's kind of your starting point. If you've never done exercise before, well, maybe trying to exercise 2 hours every day is a bit too ambitious in the beginning. All right, if you start from zero, well, take a beginner goal at the beginning, and then once you've achieved it, aim for higher. Last thing here, well, your goal must be a time frame, all right? When are you gonna check back on your goal to see if you've achieved it or not, and if it needs to be readjusted? So there need to be a specific time frame that will give you enough time to progress and maybe stumble a little along the way. And the most important thing with goals is eventually to reevaluate them, all right? We won't always achieve our goal, but it's not failure if you didn't reach your goal. It's just an occasion, an opportunity to reevaluate your goals, see if it's your motivation that changed, is it the context that changed, what can I change in my goal or my expectation to become a bit more realistic and to be able to achieve it. All right, so that's one of the most important things to do. And that's part of changing. You're not always going to succeed on the first shot, but giving you an opportunity to change the context and reset your goal will give you a little wind to get you back on track again. A good example of this is COVID. COVID fell on us and many people lost their workout environment. You couldn't go to the gym anymore. So is my goal of exercising 5 times at the gym still realistic now that I don't have access to the gym? Well, maybe I might have to temper down a little. Maybe if I'm going to exercise on my own, I'm going to find it a bit more difficult. It would be more realistic to lower down my goal to maintain more like 3 exercise sessions a week. That's logic and a way to kind of readjust your goal down the way. Let's take a look at an example now, all right? I'm going to start with a not so good example, a poor one, all right? So I want to feel better. That's one that we hear often. Let's break it down into our different acronym letters. So is this specific? What does this person want to feel? She wants to feel better. I would like to have a bit more detail about what feeling better means for these people. Sometimes feeling better can mean something different from one to another. So I would like to probably get a bit more detail concerning the specificity of this goal. All right. Probably that feeling better is something that the person wants to achieve. So it is specific to her, but not that specific in its details. Is it something that we can measure? Feeling better. What are we going to measure here? I feel good today. I feel better the other day. It's not something that we can really put numbers on. So it wouldn't necessarily something that we could follow progress on. So not necessarily the greatest of goal. Might be more of a result of an intention behind what type of behavior we're going to put into action to get there eventually. I'm kind of preceding my words here. Action-oriented, as I just said, it's not really action-oriented. What's the behavior what's the change that's gonna make you feel better here? We don't really know how we're gonna get there, so it's not necessarily a good goal because of that. Is it realistic? Is it able to do? Well, I don't really know what the change is, so it's hard for me to know if it's realistic or not. That's a really bad example. We took it because of that. And is it time frame here? Well, not really. So that's a very easy one to fix. I want to feel better from here till the end of the cardiac rehab program. But there's a lot of bad stuff before that. So this is a bit more like a result goal. And you see our result goal kind of struggle to answer all of our SMART questions. Let's take a look at a better example. I'm going to go with the physical activity one. I'm a kinesiologist. I'm going to preach for my home neighborhood. So I want to reach the recommendations in terms of physical activity. That is 150 minutes of moderate physical activity per week by the end of the cardiac rehab program. Let's break it down again by letters. So is this specific? What is expressed here? So what must have changed? We have an increase in PA levels, and depending on the motivation for somebody who's in cardiac rehab, well, most likely it's going to be specific to them also. All right. Then is it measurable? So what do we have as number here? We're talking about 150 minutes of physical activity a week. That's something I can measure. This week I did 60, next week I did 80. I can measure the progress. Is it action oriented? Yes, it is. Doing physical activity is a behavior that's mostly under your control, right? You decide if you go out to take that walk or not. So it is within the realm of your control. And we could go a bit further down the way and see what ways are we going to get there. So that to kind of enrich a bit the action plan. So increase gradually the exercise duration, schedule the sessions in your agenda, that kind of the steps to get there, or smaller other goals too, depending on how you see it. Is this goal realistic? Well, in this case here, we're gonna believe that the person was doing 90 minutes of physical activity coming into the program. So represent an addition of 60 minutes spread over 7 days. So that seems somewhat realistic. Maybe for somebody who started at 0, jumping from 0 to 150 might be a bit more ambitious, but for somebody who's already doing an hour and a half, we're talking about 1 more hour spread over the week, so that sounds realistic. Then is the time frame? Well, for most of your goals here within the program, you're going to time frame it around the length of the program, because once we get to graduation, well, we're going to reassess the goals that you had to see if we have to modify them and see how your life after the program is going to influence those goals, so we can make a new action plan for you after the program. All right, so pretty much a very good goal here. In the end here, I like to let you go with the pitfalls a bit of goal setting. So why not set a goal that's too ambitious? Well, that can become a source of stress. All right, and generally speaking, also for your heart, we try to avoid stress. All right. Having a goal that's too ambitious, well, seeing how far you are from reaching it day after day, that might affect your self-esteem and getting a little bit of a feeling of incompetence. If you never taste victory or success, we're not too good with dealing with consecutive failures and not succeeding. So that can potentially lead to giving up or to failure, to just dropping that intention of changing your behavior. All right, so there's a risk to setting a goal that's too ambitious. Generally speaking, better to set a goal that's positive than a goal that's negative. All right, so you want to focus on what you want to achieve and not what you want to avoid. A good example of that, and it's just a matter of perspective, setting a more positive perspective. Let's take nutrition as an example. You'd be better to set a goal to cook more meal at home than saying, I want to reduce the number of times I go to the restaurant. In some way, we're speaking about the same thing. I want to replace some of my meals at the restaurant by home cooked meal, but rather focus on home cooking than taking away restaurant. That might happen along the way still, but let's focus on what you want to add, what you want to achieve, and not what you want to restrain yourself from. That's a better perspective, and it's a bit better for motivation to kind of add rather than take away. And in the end, well, as I spoke about a bit earlier, well, a SMART goal is only good if it can be readjusted and reevaluated or reassessed over time. Otherwise, if you just set a goal and you just let it go and you never come back to it, how can you really know that you're progressing? How can you really make change about your behaviors? And your solution might not be working, and you might be able to find a more efficient solution if you take time to reassess the situation. So we said that the goal must be realistic and relevant to your abilities and also to your resource available. I mean, if you have a nice place to go walk outside in the back, well, why not use it? If you don't have access to this, well, maybe walking might be a less attractive activity to you. So you have to take into account what you got available at home, around in your neighborhood, what you like, what you've done in the past, and find something that's relevant and realistic for you. And in the end, if you have a goal that's a bit more longer term, over a course of multiple months or over a year or so, well, try to set more short and medium term goals. This way, you're going to be able to reassess and achieve something from there on. If the goal is too far in mind and in time, it might not boost your motivation as you wish it would. All right. So better have a sequence of multiple short and medium term and having kind of a longer term behind all of it if you want to have more ambitious over longer term time goal. All right. And I finished today's lecture with a little quote from Mr. Mark McCormack, who said that generally speaking, people don't plan to fail, but they fail to plan. All right, so I think that encapsulates properly the theme of today's lecture. So goal setting, we have an intention, something we want to achieve, a result that we're looking for. That could be preventing a second event. That could be setting a certain performance in your life. So that's kind of the driving motivation behind your behavior change. And setting goal will help you see what can I do to get there and have a realistic approach on if I put that type of effort, I'm going to be satisfied with the result that come from it because I've done what I thought I could do. So we focus a bit more on what's inside our control, and the impact of what's outside of it is probably easier to accept when you took care of what you control. So I'm gonna let you in here with a couple of other work that we based our presentation on. If you want to, you're curious and you want to dig a bit deeper. Otherwise, on our website also you will find a memory aid or a cheat sheet about today's lecture. So if you want to take a little look at that and keep a copy for caretaking or for memory for you, feel free to do so. I hope you had fun with me today and that you learned a little something. If you have any questions, feel free to send them our way, whether through email or the next time we see you. I'm going to wish you a very nice day, and until next time, bye-bye.